Hey, what's up? Seventyne here, taking a look at the multiplayer survival game, The Culling, developed by Xaviant Games, the same guys behind the first-person spellcasting game, Lichdom Battlemage. The Culling has you dropped into a large tropical island arena along with 15 other players, all with the same goal of being the last one alive. Very much like the Hunger Games, even to the point of the event being recorded, narrated and televised inside the game's world. At the beginning of the game, everyone will drop into the arena inside a crate at a random location. When the timer hits 0, the crate will open and you'll begin scavenging for items as quickly as possible. The first items that you'll find are rocks and sticks that litter the ground and can be quickly made into various amounts of different things, including primitive weapons and utility items, all of which can be viewed by the crafting table in the menu. Once you've got something to help you out in case you run into someone else, it's time to start heading towards the nearest building, as that's where most of the good loot will be located. Getting to these locations quickly is advised, as players will empty them of loot in no time at all. Crafting items in the game and some actions like healing at a terminal and unlocking certain weapon crates require an in-game currency called Funk that you can earn slowly over time from various achievements like distance traveled or discovering a building, as well as being obtainable by depositing items at Funk dispensers. The aim of this Funk currency is to get players moving and exploring, as Funk is used to unlock high-tier weapon crates as well as calling in an airdrop full of items. So camping isn't the most ideal thing to do, as then someone else is just going to get a range of better weapons and equipment than you. Weapons in the Culling all have certain stats and ratings attached to them, starting from tier 1 weapons all the way up to tier 4. Their base stats include a damage range, with the low end being what an uncharged swing will do and the high end being what a fully charged swing will inflict. Then there's weapon speed, at which the weapon will swing at, and finally the wound intensity rating. Each weapon also has a damage type that determines what kind of wound you will inflict. The different types include bludgeoning, that'll weaken your opponent's damage output, bleed, that'll slowly deal damage over time, poison, that'll blur your vision and cause you to vomit every 5 or so seconds, essentially stunning you, and finally crippling damage that will prevent your opponent from running away. While most of the weapons in the Culling are melee based, with the ranged weapons being fairly primitive like bows and blowguns, there are actually guns available from high level crates and airdrops. This is currently a point of contention for the game though, as the various guns are extremely powerful. They are limited though, with very low ammo counts, being extremely rare from random drops, and extremely expensive to get from airdrops, which kind of balances them out. The actual combat in the game works like a rock paper scissors system, with block, attack and push moves. If your opponent is blocking, you want to push to stun them for a second. If they're attacking, you block again to stun them for a second. And finally, if they're pushing you, you can just attack through it. It really does make for an incredibly intense combat experience that plays on more of the side of mind games rather than skill, as you try to figure out how your opponent fights in just a couple of seconds and take advantage of that. However, it can be frustrating if you're versing someone with even only slightly high ping, as you can block before someone attacks you on screen but still get hit. The time to kill in the game, at least with the various melee weapons, is quite significant, with fights lasting around 30 seconds to a minute and can really come down to the wire, as both players reach the very last portion of their health bars. To help you out in combat and also just getting around, there are a couple of stimulants available that once applied will give you certain boosts like 15% extra damage or 15% reduced incoming damage for up to 2 minutes. They can easily turn a fight to your favour, but does require some foresight of an upcoming combat situation. The other buffs available include 15% increased run speed and increased stamina regeneration. There are also perks that you can equip to your character outside of the actual game that'll help you do some things a little bit better. There are 16 different categories, including general offense, general defense, health and stamina, utility, melee weapons and ranged weapons. You can create some really interesting builds through these that focus on certain weapons, or go for the full utility build. It actually adds a lot to the game's replayability, as you can swap out certain perks for others, or even try completely new ones that focus on completely different weapons and strategies. Out in the arena, there are also poison vents that can be used as environmental weapons by activating them or simply dealing damage to them, and then they'll release a toxic cloud that relatively quickly fills quite a big portion of the map. They're also used as the mechanic that forces players to the center of the map at the end of the game. Even before that though, there are numerous incentives given for the players to converge on the center of the map, like free airdrops and a master switch for all the poison vents to activate. There's also reasons not to just camp the center though, as these events are all random and can sometimes have singular airdrops dropping far out in the arena's wilderness, so you don't really want to be counting on a middle of arena event. After every game, no matter your finishing ranking for the game, you will receive a new piece of equipable customization gear that includes hairstyles, hats, jackets, and more. And there's already a bunch of them already available. You're also not immediately booted out of the game when you die, instead you have the option to stick around and spectate the rest of the game. I will say though that winning a round in the culling isn't as rewarding as it probably should be, as you still receive the same one cosmetic piece and nothing else. I'm not entirely sure what could be given out, but even perhaps another piece or two of the customizable gear would feel a little bit more rewarding. Other features of the game planned to be added include new maps, new weapons, more environmental weapons like the poison vents, alternate game modes, in-game VoIP, improved AI for an offline experience, and much more. Currently in the game though is a team mode that has you entering the arena in teams of 2 that actually does provide a surprisingly different playstyle as you'll work together and set up traps together. Altogether, the Culling is a really great competitive melee based survival game. It does still have some optimization and bugs to work through, but the core gameplay is intense fun. If you're looking for a survival game that is fast paced, focused on melee combat, and is extremely competitive, then the Culling is definitely worth a look. If you prefer guns in your survival games and aren't too keen on melee combat, then perhaps this isn't for you. Anyway, that's been my player preview for the Culling. The game is currently available via Steam Early Access for $14.99 or your regional equivalent. The game is planned to officially release sometime early in 2017. If you want to find out more about the game, check out the links below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.